Hello, everybody. Bonjour. I hope everybody is doing well today. Thank you for being here, everybody. And I hope that you guys are having a great afternoon. Hello, AR Guns. How are you? I'm glad to see you here. And hopefully, you're having a great Sunday. And yes, uh, Thank you for the compliment about my intros. I hope that you like them. And whenever you need your intro done, just don't hesitate and let me know. My email is in my about page, so you can always contact me anytime that you need it. I know sometimes me too. It's like I had a hard time deciding and getting my intro done. And speaking of intro, I'm gonna get to my intro in a second. This is an intro I did not do myself, but it inspired me to get into video editing, and I probably will revamp this intro in a short, hot minute. So I'm going to go to my intro in a second, and I'll be right back in 30 seconds, guys. So I'm back, and today, as you guys can tell by the title of my video, I will be talking about the movie Black Adam, which just came out on Friday night, and I did see it. Obviously, not at the black carpet, red carpet. I mean, premiere, but obviously, I saw it in my own hometown through the VIP section, which I did enjoy the experience. I do admit that it is pricey. Going to the VIP is not cheap, especially if we're going to be adding buying food. But I do have to admit that my back, as I've gotten older, has not been feeling so great. So those nice, comfy seats when you have to sit and watch a movie for 90 plus minutes makes a huge difference. There are seats that are heated or can be heated if you desire, and recline and all that. And like I said, are extra comfy. So for me, it's definitely well worth the price, especially in comparison to last night. I went to see another two movies with a friend of mine and her mother and son. I went to see last night Nosferatu and The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, which are old movies, but they had live musicians playing music as the movies were going. So that's why I went to go see. And it was in a church. And anybody who goes to church knows that the chairs there are not meant for comfort. They're not going to be comfortable at all. So it was definitely a stark contrast to go from a movie where you're being served your food in a nice reclined chair that you can heat and all that, to a church pew for this about the same amount of time. Obviously, I spent a little bit more time watching two movies than Black Adams, but that's going to be another video for another day for those two movies. Today, like I said, I'm giving you guys my personal thoughts and opinions about the movie Black Adam. So I'm just gonna go ahead and play some music in the background here. So here we are. Yeah. Yes, definitely. Church seats are hard as a rock. Yes, like I said, they're not meant to be comfortable. Your focus is supposed to be, of course, on God and the things that you can do as a Christian to change your life and hopefully improve yourself in this life and in the next, and hopefully make the world a better place as well. So comfort is not the goal of a church seat. So that's the reality of it, like it or not. So, but anyways, that's neither here nor there, and I'm gonna get into my movie review before I could digress and go on a tangent that has nothing to do with what I'm talking about. This is gonna be a relatively short video, guys. As usual, my lives aren't very long. There may be 30 minutes to an hour, give or take. I try to get to the point as much as possible, as quickly as possible. But if you guys have any questions, any statements, do let me know. Put a question mark before your question in the chat. That's absolutely fine. If you guys have any ideas of movies you want me to review or books or what have you, again, don't be afraid to at least mention it. I might not take it and say, yeah, I'm going to go with it, because sometimes people have suggested things that it's just not my style, my channel, where I'm going. A lot of people, hey, we want you to be a react channel. No, I'm not a reaction channel. That's not really what I'm about per se. For now, I don't want to be that kind of a channel. That's not my goal. Never, I'm not going to say never. I'm never going to do it. Who knows? That there might be something, or a topic that will come up that makes me, hey, you know what? I do need to react to this. But overall, to do that on a day-to-day basis is not. It's not where I want to be in my life right now. At least not on YouTube. Anyways, so yeah, so Black Adam came out this weekend. For those of you who don't know, Black Adam is a superhero movie in the DC world. So think of movies like Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman. He's in that world. Okay. He is part of the DC universe. And yes, this show, this episode will have some spoilers. So if you haven't seen the movie and you want to see the movie, please listen to this video after you've seen the video, because there will be some spoilers here. But if you don't mind spoilers, or you have no plans on watching the movie, then please welcome, sit down. I have some digital popcorn and drinks at the back. So help yourself, guys, and I hope you enjoy this review. Yeah, I think it's worth going to see AR Guns. I liked it overall, but of course, I'm going to get into details shortly. But it's definitely a good movie, a decent movie. It wasn't the best superhero movie in the whole universe, but it was definitely a good movie. So, anyways, in the movie, of course, the movie stars Black Adam, played by, of course, international movie star, ex pro wrestler Dwayne The Rock Johnson, who's, of course, like I said, very well known. And I think he did a good job playing the character of Black Adam, whose quote unquote real name. And let me get to um, the actual name here. Give me a second. Because I know his name is Black Adam, but it's Tef Adam. Okay, that's his name, his quote unquote real name in the movie, right? Because obviously, as you guys know, with comic book characters, they obviously have a real name and then their superhero name, right? So you have Bruce Wayne, that's his quote unquote real name, and then that's Batman, right? So Batman's and Bruce Wayne is the same person, but of course they always have alter egos, right? So that they can protect themselves and their family and so forth, right? So Teth Adam and Black Adam, same person. One's just the alter ego to the other. Okay, so in this movie, he plays Teth Adam. Teth Adam was a slave who was forced, like his people, to mine a local, mineral that could be used in a crown to give the king superpowers and to be the ultimate ruler of not only the kingdom but of basically the entire world. The crown is the crown of Sabak. And apparently, if you wear this crown, like I said, you get these magical, mystical powers. Okay. Now, of course, Tess Adam uh, basically set out to stop that from happening, because already the king, as it was as a ruler, was already doing shitty things. Like I said, he enslaved his own people to mine for this mineral that would build the crown of Sabak. So, of course, as the story goes, Adam stopped that, and something happened. Both the crown and him ended up being buried. Several thousands years later, so 5,000 years later, the story is still out there that, hey, this is a great hero that's going to save our kingdom, the kingdom of Kandak. Okay, so think of this is the same kind of world like, the Black Panther basically has their fictitious world. Well, Kandak is that same fictitious world, right? It's supposed to be, somewhere in where the Middle East would be now, or somewhere in the Jordan River type area of the world. So think ancient Egypt, ancient, you know, Mesopotamia, all that kind of area, right? So it's supposed to be part of the cradle of civilization area, right? So one of the first civilizations. Now, Kandak, unfortunately, no longer looks like that. And of course, the local people want to get saved and get themselves out of that. They're now in a position where they have foreign people coming and ruling the country. They're no longer independent, and they're no longer able to live their life as they choose. Think sort of something like Tibet, right? Tibet considers itself as an independent country, but it's being ruled over by China, right? So Tibet would want to have its freedom, or Taiwan, things like that, right? So I'm just giving that as an example, guys. I'm not here to say I'm anti China or pro China, just giving you guys some examples here. So Kandak, of course, is looking for a new superhero, and of course, one of the other characters goes and looks for the crown of Sabak in order to free the country, free her people from the tyranny of these foreign invaders. Okay. Um, Let me just make sure. Yeah, it's Andrea. Okay. Andrea and her son Aman. Okay. So Andrea also hires basically these three other individuals to come and help her find the crown of Sabak so that she can, at the very least, hide. And at first, it makes it very clear that she's trying to hide the crown of Sabak because she knows that if it's found, uh, especially by the foreign rulers that she feels are oppressing her people, that this is only going to make things worse for her and her people rather than better. But of course, as she's free, she found the crown and everything, and of course, she doesn't know, but we find out, and you kind of get hints at first. Um, but one of her colleagues that were supposed to help her is actually in league to find the crown and use it against her. And so she finds herself pinned, and oh my god, so she ends up releasing the crown and also Teth Adam to save herself, and he does save her, but of course ends up going against the mercenaries who work for the foreign legions that are trying to quote unquote destroy Kandak and have complete control of the country and consequently the world eventually. So, of course, during the whole movie, you see Tess Adam, trying to just at first, where am I? What's going on? Like it's been 5,000 years that this guy's literally been buried in the earth. So, for a little bit, the first part of the movie, he's just like not aware of what's going on, doesn't know what a TV, so he destroys it, etc. And slowly but surely, with the help of Andrea, uh, realize that okay, it's been a few years since he's been in the ground. But then at some point you have the JSA, so the Justice Society of America, who get notified that hey, Teth Adam has just been released. He's a dangerous guy. We need to stop him and imprison him. And so you see Teth Adam trying to evade the justice. So it's not the Justice League. Justice League is something different, similar but different. Okay, the Justice Society of America, but also try to evade the mercenaries. At one point, Amon, the son of Andrea, as I said before, gets himself kidnapped by the mercenaries. So, of course, Andrea implores Teth Adam to do it. Now, you'll see at the beginning of the film that the citizens of Kandak, including Andrea herself and Aman, are pro Teth Adam. For them, they look at him as the hero, as the person that's going to save them from the tyranny that they're living, because that's the story that they've been told for 5,000 years, right? While as the Justice Society of America, we're like, well, no, he has these incredible powers, and we also have these secret scrolls and documents that tell a completely different story about him, and he's actually very dangerous, which is why the Justice Society of America is trying to stop him. Okay, And he does come out, Teth Adam, as like, look, I'm not this a superhero. I'm not a good guy. It's not said, but it's implied that for him, he's like, I'm not Batman. That's not the kind of guy I am, right? I'm not pro justice, and I'm not going to kill anybody. I'm not going to do any. He's like, look, I'm willing to kill people if that's what I have to do, right? I'm willing to go to cross that line if that means saving other people, innocent people, right? And you see that when Amon gets kidnapped, he doesn't mind doing that kind of stuff to save somebody who can't save themselves, right? And you see Andrea beg and implore him to help. So even though he doesn't consider himself a hero, he doesn't mind doing heroic acts when it's somebody that he sees that truly cannot help himself, truly cannot get himself or themselves out of the situation that they're in. So even though he's not a hero, he's more of an anti-hero. So more like, let's say Deadpool, right? Who, doesn't mind doing the bad things, doesn't mind crossing the line, if that means also saving somebody who's innocent and that's just, helpless or can't do everything that he can do, right? Not everybody's a superhero. Not everybody can regenerate like Deadpool or have these superpowers like um, Teth Adam. So how did Teth Adam get his superpowers, right? Because obviously I'm talking about it and it's like, wait a minute, he was not born with superpowers, right? It's not like Superman who is Superman regardless, but because he's not on his home planet, he's here on Earth, got those powers because he's an alien, because he's now being powered by the sun, and it works with his DNA, with his Kryptonian blood, and so forth, right? With Teth Adam, he got his powers from ancient wizards, the same ones, and this is going to be possibly, if you guys haven't seen the movie or don't know about Teth Adam and Black Adam, he got his powers from the same wizards that gave the powers to Shazam. So it's the same ancient people. Now, in this case, the main wizard associated himself with slightly different ones. The powers that he gave to Teth Adam are slightly different or come from a different source. They come from ancient Egyptian gods. Okay, so that's why I mentioned before that Kandak is more in the ancient Mesopotamia area, so more closer to Jordan, to Saudi Arabia, to, of course, Egypt, right? It's in that area. While as Shazam is obviously, in a completely different country and continent. Shazam obviously is in the U.S. and refers much more to Greek gods, I believe, if I remember correctly. I could be wrong on that, but it's referring to a different set of gods and magical powers. So it's the same idea, right? In both movies, that you have these gods that exist, these powers that come from a higher power, but are different gods. So it also implies that in the DC universe, that Egyptian gods and Greek gods all exist, right? These are real beings, right? Just like in the Marvel movies, Thor is a real god, he's a real thing, and so do the ancient Greek gods as well. Hey, paranormal research, how are you? Thank you for being here. Sorry I didn't see you come in, but thank you so much for being here and spending a couple of minutes here with me. So, anyway, so that's how he got his powers. Okay. Now, of course, at one point, the Justice Society of America, which is part of consistent. Here, you have several people that form the Justice Society of America, like the Justice League. There are the main members, and then you have other members or sub members, or that nobody really talks about, or other branches of it. The main Justice Society of America members that are sent to take down Black Adam because they think he's dangerous is Doctor Fate, Cyclone, and Adam Smasher, as well as Hawkman. Okay. Um, so I won't go into details of those characters because it isn't important to know who they are, but it's kind of derails if I talk too much about them. But those are the people that are sent by the Justice Society of America, specifically by what's your face? Now I'm forgetting the name of the character that sent out specifically the Justice Society. Let me just go back to see if it says it. Sorry, guys, I'm trying to find where who sent, because that's another cameo as well. There were basically three important cameos in this movie. One is, of course, the Justice Society of America, which I have a funny feeling they do want to, at some point, make a spin-off of either the characters individually or the all the characters together, so make a collab movie. And I will talk about the other. Yes, we all. Oh, Viola Davis. So Viola Davis, her character. So if you guys remember some of the other movies that have come out in the DC universe, Viola Davis's character is important. She sends out, people to sort of prevent bad things from happening, right? So she also appears in this movie. So that's another cameo that's important. So she's the one who sent out the Justice Society of America to stop Tess Adams. She also appears at the end of the movie and she talks to Black Adam directly. And the last cameo, I'll mention it at the same outro point later on. So, anyways, you see in this movie that Black Adam is trying to basically not only figure out his place in the new world, right? It's been 5,000 years, but he's trying to fend off the Justice Society of America and the mercenaries, which is called the Intergang. Okay, that's the force that's oppressing Kandak, right? Um, but at one point, he does talk to Hawkman and about his place in this world, and that's when we discover that Black Adam wasn't the one who was given the powers, right? It was his son. Boom, boom, boom. Because at the beginning of the movie, you see this little kid, come out and try to save this old man who found the piece of rock, the piece of mineral that was going to help rebuild the crown of Sabak, and brought it and was like, hey, we can help the world, right? And the old man that found the rock ended up being killed, and the son is like, well, no, this is, excuse me, this isn't fair. We need to save the world. He does a particular symbol, which I have a funny feeling is going to be controversial because make it a triangle with your hand, right? So, of course, a triangle for a lot of people is a sign of the Illuminati. So, I think the fact that they've used this sign as, hey, this is a symbol for Kandak. You see that nowadays in a lot of movies where people are trying to use hand gesture. I think it was with the Hunger Games where the character Primrose used the three fingers, where that became popular too in the real world as a symbol of rebelling against the oppressive government, right? Of the government that's trying to keep the power for themselves and crushing the little guy, the little people if they have to, right? So I have a funny feeling this symbol, with this symbol that the movie is also trying to go in that same vein of this is a symbol of quote unquote the people and the common man, the common woman who's just trying to live their life, trying to build their country, and the oppressive government or oppressive regime is trying to keep them down. So of course this kid is very rebellious and ends up ends up being an attempt to kill the kid, and you see him magically disappear, and that's when the kid is given the powers. But the father, mother, the father, i.e., think of course Black Adam, Death Adam, the mother and his family end up dying. Okay, but the kid or there's an attempt to have them killed, but the kid saves them and gives the power to the father. So that's how the father ended up being Black Adam, right? and being transformed. So that's part of why Black Adam feels so conflicted about being a hero, because he knows he wasn't meant to be the hero. It was supposed to be his son. His son was supposed to be the one building this new world and building, a world where Kandak can be an independent state and live its life. So when he sees this statue, this extremely large statue of Black Adam, everybody thinks, oh, he's admiring the statue of himself, but in reality, he sees the statue of his son, right? Um, so at one point, of course, they're fighting each other, but at one point, everybody's safe, everybody is where they need to be. And Black Adam tells Hawkman, look, I'm no hero. And that's when he explains it, the whole backstory with his son. And it's like, look, I'll say the word, I.e., Shazam, because when you say Shazam, for these individuals, the power either activates or deactivates, depending on whether you have the powers on or not, right? So if you have the powers on, you have to say Shazam to deactivate. If you don't have the powers on and you want them to activate, you say Shazam. So he's like, okay, look, I'll give up the fight. I'll go to your place, which is called Task Force X, which is a site where they can keep him away from society, get him out of the way. But he's like, look, I just want to make sure that everybody's safe and sound. So that's when Hawkman and the JSA go after the crown of Shabak and the king that wants to take over the world, right? That's when you find out that Andrea and one of the people that had um, helped her by the name of Ishmael is actually a descendant of King Aktun, who's the bad king who had taken over Kandak and wants the crown now and rule. So Sabak Ismail, sorry, is the one that actually succeeds in getting the crown on his head, or at least attempts it. Okay, and you see that it brings him to the underworld, okay, or hell, or however you want to call it, and that's where you see the true nature of the power of the crown, and he resurrects from death. So he intentionally wanted to die in order to gain his powers. Okay, now he goes, gets his powers, and he has to sit on a particular throne, which you do see throughout the movie, in order to um, be the true ruler of the kingdom of Kandak. He does technically succeed, and the JSA tries to fight him, but is powerless to do so. Dr. Fate ends up dying in the process of trying to save the kingdom and so forth. But before he does, he goes and mentally, because that's one of his powers, he can be at several places at the same time. He goes and finds Teth Adam and says, look, we need you as Black Adam. It's not us that's going to save Kandak. It's you. You are the hero, whether you like it or not, whether you believe it or not, you are a hero. Even though your son was supposed to be Black Adam, we all know that you're the one now that can save Kandak. So um, Teth Adams frees himself from Task Force X and re-becomes Black Adam, and of course saves the day. At the end of the movie, that's when you see the third important cameo, which is Superman. Okay, so there is a Superman tie-in to this, and of course, it is Henry Cavill that still plays Superman and says the line of the words. I can't remember the exact line, but it's something to the effect of, "Yeah, it's been a long time since somebody's made them nervous." Okay, so like I said, that's also when Viola Davis is, came back on screen and said, "Yeah, you can stay in Kandak, fine, but that's going to be your prison. Since you didn't want to stay in Task Force X, you have to now stay in Kandak." And of course, The Rock's character, Black Adam, replies, "Yeah, nobody's gonna force me to stay anywhere." And that's when, after he says that line, Superman comes in and just says what I just said earlier. Okay, so that's pretty much the movie. Okay, so it is, like I said, a typical superhero movie where there's lots of, ups and downs and failures and successes and, moments where you're like, oh yeah, go superhero, and other moments like, oh no, they're gonna die, and one of them, does pass away, which is of course Doctor Fate. So it's kind of interesting to see how everything's going to turn out because, like I said, there has been a few tie-ins, like I said, to the Justice Society of America, to Shazam as well, to of course Superman. So there are uh, potential different, what's the sequel going to be about, tie-ins, or is, Black Adam going to be part of other movies and so forth, right? And you do have the sequel to the another Justice League, but to Shazam that is coming out, I think, if it hasn't already. So that might be another place to go and potentially see if Black Adam makes an appearance there or is mentioned or whatever. Anyway, so that's the overall movie. Now, obviously, guys, there's some things I left out. I didn't reveal everything. Some things I skipped over. It is by intention because I do want you guys to see the movie for yourself, and to talk about it and to come back to me and say, hey, there was this part too, and all that, right? So it's by intention. I know I skipped a few things or didn't say everything in the perfect right order, okay? But I gave you guys the essential. Now, what do I think about the movie? Well, overall, like I said at the beginning, I like the movie overall. Although I did find it, um, I found it a little too high tech, like too dependent on CGI. And I know that sounds really weird to say because obviously it is a superhero movie, right? I do expect a certain amount of CGI to be there. Obviously, I'm very well aware that obviously The Rock can fly. That was one of my pet peeves in the movies is that they never, when you see Black Adam's character, he rarely touches the ground, right? He's always floated. And I know it was by design, right? To show that he thinks of himself as better than everybody else, right? His feet are not to the ground by intention, right? While as when you think of somebody like Superman or Batman, even though with Superman, he technically can fly, he can float at any point, right? But Superman, for the most part, unless it's necessary, will be on the ground a lot of the times. He has no problems being the quote unquote all American boy who grew up on a farm, right? He worked the lands with his hands, right? So even if he had all these superpowers that allowed him to do just about anything, he still was, walking around and doing things that normal human beings were doing, right? While as Black Adam, it's all the contrary. He's mostly floating, he's mostly flying around, and very rarely touches the ground. And it kind of also shows that contrast where, um, Superman didn't grow up as a slave, didn't wasn't part of that world, wasn't part of slavery, while as Black Adam was. So it kind of can also be a symbol of Black Adam wanted to detach himself from the world that was so oppressive and was so difficult for him and his family, right? While as Superman wants so desperately to be part of that world that it was so welcome and uh, open arms and everything, right? His parents just took it in, right? Didn't, knew he was an alien, but still, open arm welcome him and like let's raise him as our own, right? But we're still cautious, and that's another dichotomy with the Superman family. They told Superman, "Be careful. As we love you, we'll be there for you, but there's going to be people that are going to be against you." While as with Black Adam, he's seen the evil of humanity. He's lived it firsthand, but has to be reminded that no, there can be good things in humanity as well. You can bring out the best of people if you allow yourself to do so. So that's a one thing I did like about the movie as well, is that mentality that uh, yes, you've been through shitty things. Yes, you could easily use your power for evil, but you have that choice of making, the right choice, and avoiding some of the things that you can do. In fact, in one part of the movie, he brings up two of the mercenaries to find Amon into literally the sky, into the basically like the top atmosphere. And of course, Hawkman follows him, and he's like, "Look, guys, I need to know where this kid is." One guy says, "I don't know." He drops him. Of course, Hawkman has to go get him. And then the other guy's like, "Oh, the kid's over here. The kid's over here." And he drops him too. And Hawkman saves both. He's like, "Oh my God, you almost killed him." He's like, "Well, I didn't kill them. You saved them." He's like, but, well, that's why I waited for you to be up there with me here so that I could get the information and you could be the hero and save them. So there were little moments like that that were cute and funny at the same time, which I liked. Um, because sometimes you do in a high, high tension superhero movie, like what's going to happen, you do need sometimes those little comic moments. So that they did well as well. I did like that. Um, but one thing I didn't like as well, another thing I should say, is with Ishmael's character. You know almost right away that he was the bad guy. That he was going to betray Andrea and her family, right? So that, I think, they played their card too quickly with that. That it should have stayed a little bit more of a secret until near the end of the movie, where it was a bigger reveal that, oh my God, Ishmael is the bad guy. He's the one who wants the crown, and blah blah blah, blah, right? So I didn't like that they played his hand too quickly with that, right? And especially at first, you didn't know that he was a descendant of the king, right? So at first you're like, why is this guy betraying? Like, why? Like, he's evil, but it's like you don't know why. So it's like, like the Joker, at least he's evil just because that's who he is, right? He's always been evil. While as with Ismail, you're like, you have no, like, you don't even know why he's evil. Like, is he evil because he was promised money, or his family was kidnapped and this is the only way to release them, I'm sorry, whatever. But you have none of that. He's just evil because, and it's like, it's not until the end where, oh, okay, he's the last descendant of King Acton, so it's like, wait a minute, like, where did this come from? Like, there's no indication. Like, that came out of nowhere when that should have been like, hey, I'm the bad guy, and this is why I'm the bad guy. Like, it should have been done together, kind of thing. So, anyways, but overall, I liked the movie. It was a nice movie. I like also the fact that it did play into other movies. Like I said, it does play into Shazam, but gives it a little twist. Like, okay, we're not, this isn't like a repeat of Shazam, right? This is Shazam adjacent, like it's next to it. It has elements of Shazam, but it's something different. So I did like that. I did like that it plays into the Justice Society of America. I did like the fact that it played into a Superman as well. So I like to see where it's going with this. And I think that's a shame with the DC universe. I think the Marvel universe did a really good job, especially in the 90s and early 2000s, where they had just let's release a couple of superhero movies, right? Let's release Blade. Let's release Superman. Hey, Black Money Corp, how are ya? How's it going? How you doing, BMC? Sorry if you've been here for a while and I missed you, but thank you for being here. As you can tell, Black Money Corp, I'm talking about the movie Black Adam. So, as I was saying, the Marvel movies really did a good job where at first they were just, oh, let's make the movie Blade. Let's make Superman. Let's make not Superman. Sorry, Superman is not part of the Marvel world. You're just chilling. Excellent. Good stuff. Good stuff. Grab a beer, grab some popcorn, and just sit back and relax here with me. So yeah, Superman is the DC world. Sorry guys. Sorry about that mistake. I know. I know. Sorry. I'm sorry guys. But yeah, so the Marvel, they just, let's put up Spider Man, let's put up, Blade, all that movies. And you didn't really, to everybody at that time, oh, this is a superhero movie. Great. Oh, it's a Marvel character. Okay, great. Like you didn't really think about it. Then at one point, of course, they release Iron Man, then Captain America, then Thor, right? And then they're starring in those movies. That's why it's like first gen, Marvel movies where they're just laying out the road work for it, right? They're just releasing these movies as if they're independent, but then they started making little cameos, right? You see Iron Man in the background of, or you see somebody mentioning this other XYZ character, right? The second generation, that's when they're overtly in the sequels. No, you see Thor going into a Captain America movie and being part of that world, right? You see, and they kind of laid and build up, build up, build up. The fourth run is, of course, where we had, the end of the world and the snap and all that, right? Now the fifth generation is when they're starting to the aftermath, right? So you have the secondary characters that aren't as well known that are coming out and having their own movies or being part of other movies in some ways. So excuse me, sorry guys. So that's when you see that coming out. DC was set to do that, and they were set up for that, where they could have very easily. They had a lot of independent superhero movies come out: Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, right? But they did not successfully tie in all those movies together, right? Yeah, I love Batman is my favorite, to be honest. AR Gun. He's always been my favorite. But I have to be honest, I haven't seen Batman with you know who. Um, and I did see the one with the guy from that vampire movie. But once that came, the newer generations of Batman came in, I'm like, oh, it broke my heart too much, and I couldn't see them. But Batman overall is my favorite character. But anyways, as I was saying, it's DC really didn't do a good job of really tied in all of the superhero movies together, right? They came out with the Justice League, and it just flopped, just for many different reasons. The special effects weren't so great. The acting was a hit and miss on depending on who you ask and all that. Just wasn't so great and perfect, right? And of course, they did try to have a monster movie universe where they had all the classic monsters coming out together, like the Mummy and all that. But unfortunately, that flopped big time. So they had to kind of like set that movie world aside and start anew and really go somewhere else. So hopefully with movies like Shazam, like Black Adam, they're able to sort of reestablish that superhero movies and tie in together. And okay, yeah, we have three Batman movies here that are one thing, but we can easily tie them into the five Superman movies over there, and then we tie in those two movies to make the Justice League. So hopefully they're able to find the right formula. They haven't found it yet, quite yet, as far as I'm concerned, but I would definitely like to see that. So I did, like I said, like the fact that they were tying in two or three aspects of other movies into Black Adam. That it wasn't the focus. The focus was still Black Adam, but they still were able to. This refers to something else. So if you don't know what that something else is, then well, let's go see the movies, right? Yeah, you're right, Aragon. Some of the older movies aren't as good. Obviously, it's a hit and miss. For me, it's some of the more recent ones that were not as great personally, but yeah. And it's a shame that the monster movie tie-ins didn't work, because having a tie-in with the Mummy, vampire movies, Dracula, all that stuff, on paper, it's a very good idea. I love that idea, right? On paper, it's fantastic. They just did not execute it very well, right? Because I personally, Tom Cruise is an action hero, but not in the same way as The Rock or Arnold. You know, like even Arnold Schwarzenegger. It's kind of hard to say. You have two types of action heroes, right? You have the action heroes that, if you're a human being playing an action hero that's a human being, I see Tom Cruise. I see Arnold Schwarzenegger. These are quote unquote everyday guys that, if you have the right physique, if you have the right money, the right training, you could be this guy, right? You can see the average guy can get into this and become that superhero, right? That action hero, right? That's what Tom Cruise is to me. He's that guy, like he's what, in his 50s, 60s now, but yet he's still in pretty decent shape, you know? So if you're a guy in his 50s, 60s, you're like, yeah, if I train hard, if I get the right skills, I could be his character in Mission Impossible, right? But then you have the superheroes or action heroes like Black Adam, where it's like, when you look, yeah, there are guys that look like The Rock and probably bigger than him, but he comes off as, he has this persona that is out of this world. He's not like everybody else. There's something, that X factor, that's something different about him, that you believe him as this demigod, right? As this person that has these powers from another world, right? So you believe him as, you know, as Black Adam. But I wouldn't believe Tom Cruise as a mummy hunter, right? That's not, he doesn't have that X factor that makes it believable, right? So that's part of, at least, and this is my personal theory, guys. This is just my personal opinion, so I could be wrong or you can disagree with me. That's absolutely fine, guys. This is just me talking out of my butt. You know, I'm just giving you guys my thoughts on things, right? So, but he, for me, Tom Cruise doesn't come off as that action hero that's part of another world, right? That's was given these mystical powers, and oh yeah, I can, you know, and that's the difference. They try to play it off as if he has this mystical powers, when I don't believe that with the two previous Mummy movies or Mummy movie series. Because if you know the Mummy, obviously you know that it's based on first movie that came out in, I think, in the 1930s, if I remember correctly, and then a second with Brendan Fraser, who I think there was three. Um, yeah, it was a trilogy. Brendan Fraser, when they did those movies, they didn't play it as Brendan Fraser has superpowers, right? Brendan Fraser has, no, he's just playing a regular guy who encounters an out of this world event, right? Mummies aren't supposed to come alive. You know what I mean? They're dead. Come on, why are these guys walking around, right? But he just shows that no, us as regular people, because obviously he was with the best librarian in the world, Evie, right? She showed that, look, if you have somebody who's smart, if you have somebody who has the brawn, right, and that's what he was, you know, played in the movies. He was the quote unquote the muscle, right, and you had Evie who was the thinker, right. So they combined forces that way to defeat the bad guy, right, the mummy, right. So they knew that as a couple they could defeat, right? They could come together and get the bad guy out, right? Um, while as the revival of with Tom Cruise, you didn't see any of that, right? You just, he has magical powers at the end, and that's how he defeats. Like, no, that's not the mummy. That's not how things are supposed to go. Now, I don't mind if they want to change things up. In fact, if you're going to reboot a movie, you should change a certain amount of things. Just not that. There's like, you have to understand the core of it has to still resemble a certain amount. Now, obviously, they in that reboot, they did introduce Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, right? Where, and that's a character where, okay, he's injecting himself with things that make him different, but even then they didn't do that part properly, right. But anyways, I'm glad you agree with me, Aragon. But anyways, I'm on a tangent that has nothing to do with the movie Black Adam. But you guys get my point here that if you're gonna play a superhero movie where they have powers from out of the world, that's not from Earth, right? They're supposed to be something above and beyond. You need somebody that can convince you that they're from another world or have like they can actually wield those powers. You believe them, right? Like Henry Cavill, you have the sense that yeah, this is a human being by appearance, but not by birth, right? Because obviously, Superman is born on another planet. He's technically an alien, right? But you believe him. He looks human. He acts human. He was born in, on another planet, but raised here. And but you believe that he has this otherworldly power to him, right? He has that X factor that makes you think, oh yeah, this is the kind of guy that if he wasn't raised in the US, if his parents were like, yeah, yeah, go ahead, kill people, it's okay, he would, yeah, could potentially do these things. And like, oh, thank God that's not the what, that's not how he was raised. Oh my God, like, and I think there's the movie called Blackburn where oh no, it's not Blackburn, Brightburn. Brightburn is that movie where they play off of that idea of what if Superman was a sociopath, right? What if he was raised differently, right? What if something was slightly different about him and he ended up being evil, right? And I think in the comic books too, you have that version of Superman as being raised in the USSR and being in more of that camp than quote unquote our camp, right? So there are variations there. And I think that's going to be my final point on this movie with Black Adam is that's what they were talking about in this movie is we don't know what to do with Black Adam because you have for the people of Kandak, Black Adam is a hero. He's there to fight their oppressors. And even in the movie, one of the first things that Andrea says to when the Justice Society of America comes and talks to the people, she's like, we don't look at you guys as the hero. You didn't come and save us. In fact, we think you sent these, oppressors here and these bad guys here to oppress us. We look at Black Adam as our hero. He's the one who's meant to save us and to get us out of our world, right? While as of course for the Justice Society of America, they're like, no, we have this information that leads us to believe that Black Adam is the bad guy. So who's the bad guy? Who's the good guy? What's going on? They could have developed that a little bit more in the movie, a little bit more, but I get it. It's a movie that's I think an hour and a half or something, so they only have so much time to develop all the different themes and elements of the movie. But at least they mentioned it and said, hey, look, is Black Adam a good guy? Is he a bad guy? Is he an anti-hero? Is he the enemy? What's going on with this guy, right? So I think it is important to have that kind of conversations, right? Because there's a lot of comic books out there and comic book movies and superhero movies that do try to address that and say, yeah, they're heroes because XYZ, but what if they weren't? Or what if you have a different perspective, right? What if what about this? What about that, right? So it is important to talk about it. Like, of course, when in one of the Justice League movies, of course, you see Superman fighting the bad guys and he goes into these buildings. Well, these buildings have people in them, right? So he's potentially killing or injuring several people here while quote unquote trying to save everybody. So is he really a hero if, yeah, you saved your girlfriend Lois Lane, but then you potentially killed several other people while doing it? So are you really a hero, right? So it is important to have those questions in these kinds of movies and to see that, what, you see the hero, you see them doing all these great things, but you don't often see the consequences of what they're doing, it right? So it's always good to see that in a movie that they're realizing that, yeah, you're helping, but are you really? Anyways, I'm not going to go on a tangent for any longer, guys. So that was my review of the movie Black Adam. and I gave you guys obviously my opinions, and they are just that, my personal opinion, guys. You guys can agree, disagree with me. I hope you guys go see the movie for yourselves and decide for yourself whether it's a good movie or not. I liked it. Like I said, it wasn't the greatest superhero movie of all time. Oh my god, it was awesome. I didn't leave the movie theater with that. I'll give you that, guys. I'm not gonna overhype it for nothing. But hopefully you like it like I liked it. I thought it was a good movie. It was nice after a long week of work to go out, enjoy some popcorn, enjoy some beer, sit down, watch a movie, and just deconnect and just relax a little bit. So it was good for that. So, anyways, thank you guys for being here and listening to me chit chat for the past hour or so. So that will be the end of that for me. So I hope you guys enjoyed my movie review. Thank you, AR Guns, for being here with me today and spending an hour of your time with me, listening to me ranting and raving about this movie. Thank you, Black Money Corp, as well, for being here and spending some time. And thank you, Professional Paranormal Research, as well, for being here. And I hope you guys do go see the movie and enjoy it. If you don't see that movie, I hope you guys are having a great Sunday, regardless of what you guys are doing. So I hope you guys have a great Sunday afternoon and have a great weekend. I hope that your Monday will be wonderful. And I'm glad that you enjoyed my nice little ranting on Aragon on this movie. So have a great day, guys. And of course, give your guys wives, your girlfriends, your husbands, your daughters, your children, whoever you love, a big hug and kiss from me. And if you haven't spoken to somebody in a while, now's that time. Just go ahead. If you feel like you're not too sure, just tell, you know what? She stole my thunder, wants to know how you doing. How you doing? Blame me. It's okay. Use me as an excuse. Go ahead, guys. Go ahead and say hi to that person that you haven't spoken to a while. They miss you. They don't worry. Trust me. Trust me. They miss you. Go say hi to them. Go now. Have a great day, guys. Have a great Sunday. Bye bye. Au revoir.